Hey guys, it's Miss Albanese. Time for lesson 6 of module 6. Today our target is I can interpret measurement data from various line plots. Interpret just means figure out. I can figure out measurement data from various line plots. Line plots are just another graph that you can use, and it shows data over time. The first thing I want to look at is a bar graph. Now, this is not a line plot. Oops. Sorry about that. This is not a line plot. This is actually, let me just get this set so you can see it better. This is actually a different kind of graph. This shows data, measurement data, same as we've been doing in the last couple of lessons. It shows amounts. So let's look at it. What does this bar graph show? On which day did the truck driver drive the most miles and the least miles? So what does this bar graph show? Well, it shows, you can see up here, the title tells you number of miles a truck driver drives. It asks us which one is the most. This bar graph makes it really, really easy to tell that because the most is just going to be the tallest bar. So follow the tallest bar all the way up and then across. Ooh, you know, the first thing I need to do is I need to see what is my scale. Well, I've got 400 and 450. So my scale is 50, which means I'm going to have 5, 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm counting by tens for each one of these little lines. So I have 400 and 10, 20, 30. 430 on Wednesday. 430 miles. Then I find my lowest, which was Thursday. Follow it up and across. 150, 160, 70, 80, 90, 190. Goodness. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with this. Okay, and here's your application problem. Caitlin measures the height of her bean plant on Monday and again on Friday. She says that her bean plant grew 10 quarter inches. Her partner records 2.5 inches on his growth chart for the week. Is our partner right or is she right? Why or why not? Okay, sounds like the first thing we need to do is make a ruler like we've been doing. So she says 2.5. So let's make 4 just to make sure we've got enough. Oops, I should have made that a little longer, but so there's a half, there's a half, there's a half, and there's a half. So we have 0. Oh, it doesn't look very good. And then 1/2, and we have 1 and 1/2, 2 and 1/2, 3 and 1/2. Okay, so at this point, we have to look back up into the directions and see what it says. Her partner records 2.5 inches. So that's going to be right there. She says 10/4 inches. That's 1/4 inches. Do I have 1/4 inches on my ruler or whatever you want to call this? No, so I have to go in and I have to put the little 1/4 inches between the full inch and the 1/2 inch and the 1/2 inch in the next hole. So I put in my little 1/4 inches. She says 10/4 inches. Well, let's count. There's 1/4 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did we land in the right place? We did, didn't we? So on his growth chart for the week, he is correct because 10/4 inches is equal to 2.5 inches. Okay, how should I label the tick mark between the 1 and the 2? Well, we know that 2/2, which that would be 2/2, is equal to 1. So if this is 1 unit and it has 2/2, then you know you're going to label that a half. So this tick mark is always going to be a half. It's the one halfway in between the whole numbers. Does this line compare to the ruler we made in lesson 5? It does compare, except we had one more thing in lesson 5. What did we have? If you said we had 1/4 inches also, you're right. 1/4 inches are half of a half. So now it compares to the ruler we made in lesson 5, doesn't it? Okay. Which amount of time is spent which amount of time spent outside has the most X's? Take a look at it. If you said 2, you're correct. Very easy to see. You can see that it's the tallest group of X's. And what does each X on the plot line represent? Well, that's easy because it tells us right here in the key or the legend, it tells us right there. Each X represents 1 person. How many people spent 2.5 hours outside? Let's come over here and look. We found 2.5. And all we have to do is count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. I wish we could do a group activity. That would be a lot of fun. And of course, if we were at school, we would get to. But since we can't do that, I want to just kind of do it together. And we're going to use some words that we don't use very often, like the word frequent. We don't use the word frequent very often, but that just means a lot. We use it, it's often. And we're going to use at least, less than, and more than. Okay, take a look at this and try to come up with one sentence that could tell you something that's true about this line plot. Well, I could come up with something that says 1 hour. There were at least 3 people who stayed out for 1 hour. Okay, let's use the word at least. At least. How many people stayed outside at least 3 hours? Okay, so we would have to look at 3 hours and how many people stayed out at least 3 hours. That means the less amount would be 3, which means anything to the right would be at least, because at least 3 hours, 3.5 would be at least 3 hours, and 4 would be at least 3 hours. 2.5 would be less than 3 hours. And 4 would be more than 3 hours. And let's look at the word frequent. You can use the word frequent in 2 ways. You can either say you spend a frequent amount of time on something. That means a lot. Or you can say that you frequent a place. That means you go there often. I believe in this case we'd want to say they frequent the outside 2.5 hours here, 3 hours here. Or you could say I go outside frequently, which means not 1, because that's not very much, but maybe 3.5 would be frequent. So there's 2 different ways to use that word. Okay, now there's a problem set. So go ahead and get out your paper and pencil, your scratch paper, and get prepared to do the problem set, and go ahead and move on to that. And I'm happy that we got to spend a little bit of time together, even if it was just on the computer. And I will see you soon. Bye.